Welcome to this first of 4 brief Advent talks, this season being the start of the Christian year, and in some ways my favourite season of the Christian calendar. Of course, for one thing, it's a time of expectant waiting and preparation for the Christmas festival, and its themes have inspired great music. The Advent hymns are among the best ever written. The name Advent means coming, or better still, arrival. It means that we think about Jesus' first coming, his birth at Bethlehem, but also his future coming at the end of time, what Scripture calls the last days. In times past, this theme was rolled out across the whole 4 weeks, not just Advent Sunday itself. Sunday's sermons would dwell all Advent time on the 4 last things, as they were called: heaven, hell, death, and judgment. Now, maybe this was partly to help us to understand why Christ came in the first place, though I suspect it was also to keep the faithful in their place and to keep them mindful of what is yet to come and to some extent to be dreaded. But in more recent times, the focus has changed somewhat. It now centres on Isaiah and Old Testament prophecy relating to the coming of the Messiah, the Christ, on John the Baptist and, of course, and finally, Mary, the mother of Jesus. And this gives us a different and perhaps better framework for the celebration of Christ's birth. A bit, if you like the frame around a picture, which contains it and gives it perhaps a kind of direction and focus. On Advent Sunday itself, the season and the year begins, though, by thinking still about those last days. The end of the story, if you like. The end which gives meaning to the story as a whole. And the story being told is the story of everything. Past, present, and future. First of all, the story of a people, Israel. And then, on top of that, the story of the whole human race. And ultimately, the story of the history of creation as a whole. And those last days we're thinking about are how the story is going to end. We now know that our planet Earth is a tiny speck in the vastness of space. The ancients thought of the Earth as the centre of creation, with the heavens, the sun and the planets and the stars revolving around it. And so when Galileo Galilei in the 17th century suggested that the Earth orbited around the sun and was not at the centre of everything, it got him into trouble with the church authorities, who felt that what he said contradicted what is given in Scripture, at least according to their reading of it. But we do now know that our Earth and our solar system aren't at the centre of things, but one of millions of star systems in our galaxy, the Milky Way, that band of stars we see in the night sky. A galaxy so vast that if we could travel from rim to rim at the speed of light, impossible of course, it would nonetheless take us 100,000 years. Until a century ago, most astronomers believed that our whole universe consisted of just our galaxy, the Milky Way. But then, in the 1920s, the now famous Edwin Hubble, after whom the telescope is named, Edwin Hubble was among the first of all to realize that it's just one, the Milky Way that is just one of countless millions of galaxies. And the physicists, or at least most of them, now think that the universe began with a super-concentrated ball of matter and energy and a vast explosion of space-time, often known as the Big Bang. Which makes it meaningless to ask about what happened before the Big Bang, because it was space-time that came into existence for the first. There was no before, and there is no outside to the universe. It is all there is. And so for the last 14 billion years or so, the whole fabric of space-time, or space-time gravity, has been expanding more and more. All the galaxies speeding away one from another. And so in this sense, neither we, nor the galaxy we are a part of, are at the centre of anything. Although all the galaxies appear to our eyes to be speeding away from us, it's rather like the raisins in a raisin cake in the oven, expanding gently as it bakes. And if raisins could think, then each raisin will be thinking that all the others, because they're moving away at roughly the same speed from it, then it must be the center raisin. Of course not. And so, although once it was thought that we humans are the measure of all things, center stage in a divine plan, and that we shall be again at Christ's second advent, for after all, it is as one of us that he came to earth in the first place, we now know that though he may have come for that purpose, we are not the central piece of the jigsaw that we thought we were. We are dwarfed by the sheer size and age of the universe, and our human species is a very, very, very recent addition. What does this mean to the framework within which our story is unfolding? Doesn't the sheer vastness of time and space and the tiny fragment of time and place we occupy make a mockery of all those grandiose ideas? But you know, we could say, after all, size isn't everything. We could just as well say, it's taken this vast universe billions of years to make us possible, to create this special life form that we call the human species. Just because we are a tiny speck in a corner of space-time, it doesn't necessarily make us unimportant in God's design. If we think that if it took a vast universe of a very particular type, evolving over a very long period, to produce life of our kind, it does in a way make us kind of special. In a way, it all depends which end of the telescope you look through. And perhaps, in the view from eternity, time and space are purely relative. Time, space, and size. Well, I suppose the physicists have also come to realize this in their own way. And perhaps, in any case, it's a good thing, after all, to begin the calendar year and the run-up to Christmas by starting with the long view that Advent can give us. To see the vast span of history, not just human history but cosmic history, all focusing down on a time and a place of which the prophets had some kind of foresight, although they did not know fully of what they spoke. A time and a place, and an event which we shall shortly celebrate together. In the meantime, God bless and keep safe.